Hello everyone, what's up? Frankencoin Association here for the first live stream of 2026. A lot of fun. I have quite the honor of being joined here with some very esteemed gentlemen from the Frankencoin Association. So, and of course, thank you, the audience, for joining. Please join the channel. I will pop them up as well, the links to our YouTube, our X, our Telegram group, and feel free to communicate and add your questions while we are having this discussion here. So first of all, Luzius, Frankencoin founder, how are you, sir? Nice to see you. I think you're muted, maybe?
Excellent. Good to be here.
Good to have you on. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this. Like I told you, I really think it's very important and meaningful. Johannes, I will go next to you because the audience already knows you, the Frankencoin Association Managing Director. Nice to have you on. How are you? You're muted as well, I think. You here? Maybe still muted, maybe need to reconnect the mic. And while Johannes is solving it, allow me to introduce a member of the new advisory board, which I was actually very fortunate to meet in person as well back in December in Zurich on my first ever visit to Switzerland. It was really fun. Eric Sarasin, one of the new members of the Frankencoin Association Advisory Board, which is going to be one of the main topics that I want to discuss, these gentlemen, about actually what created the decision to assemble the new advisory board. What are some of its goals? What are the new board members, advisory board members, I should say, bring to the table, and how does it support the Frankencoin ecosystem? And of course, another main topic, which actually maybe we will start with that other topic, is the main goals for Frankencoin in 2026. First of all, Johannes, can you hear us? Can you talk? Let's check.
Let's try now.
Oh, yeah.
Very
amazing. The setup works. Nice to have you on, kind sir.
Thank you. Let me check something.
For those of you who don't know, Johannes is really relentlessly promoting Frankencoin out of every possible vector. I see it firsthand while I work with him day to day just on the content and seeing a lot of the stuff that he's doing behind the scenes. Quite an honor, and I'm learning a lot, sir. So shout out to you. Thank you so much.
And thank you for the kind words. It's been a while. It's been a while since we had a last stream together, but it's good. It's good to be back, and it's really good to see you all in the community. I mean, I think we've grown. How many joiners do we already have here? I think it's filling up nicely. I don't see the statistics
on YouTube. Like through Restream, I only see those who are like concurrent viewers are on YouTube. I will also, while you guys start really talking after I present the topics, I will really start pushing it on all the socials, because a lot of the links only generate like the X links, for example, they only generate once we go live, so they should be out now. But please, everyone, if you're watching, share the link. Let's get the message to as many people as possible. And Luzius, let's start with you, actually, and then take it to the others as well. What I'm mostly curious about, and I want us to have like as the main dish for this evening, is, 2026 has arrived. We're at the end of January, and I'm very curious to hear from the main source, what are Frankencoin's goals for 2026? How are we as a protocol, as an ecosystem, positioned right now, and where do we hope to get to throughout the year?
Yes, so in simple terms, of course, it's further growth. We need to make sure the system scales. It's a decentralized system, so it's not under our direct control. The Frankencoin Association helps to nurture the ecosystem. And it's very nice to see companies grow around the Frankencoin ecosystem. So one mentionable remarkable company is Mount Pelerin, which is now the leading on and off ramper for Frankencoins. They already have considerable volume. Another one that was announced yesterday, they had a very nice press breakfast, is Plus. They allow investors to easily park Swiss francs in the Frankencoin ecosystem by wrapping into an ETP or into a certificate, into a bankable product. So this is, of course, a little ironic that we grow the market by creating a bankable product. But I think this is a big element all over crypto, is to build these bridges between TradFi and DeFi. And it's an important element. One missing element that would be next is the borrowing side. So on the borrowing side, I think there could be more demand. And there's, as we manage the community, of course, we also have an eye on how is the balance between the demand on the savings side and on the borrowing side. It's the FPS holder can govern that a little by setting the interest rates or proposing interest rate changes. But this is something that is very interesting to watch. And the goal, of course, would be or the hope would be that both sides scale up and that we see maybe 100 million in volume by the end of the year.
Impressive and nice. Johannes, you have any thing you want to add about that?
I think Luzius summed it up very, very nicely. It's just I would kind of add, it's more of the same on one hand side, but it's also bringing it really to the next level. And I believe the advisory board was a very good first step. The announcement we had, as Luzius said yesterday, with Plus was a big step. I mean, for me, this is just impressive how the media narrative also changed, right? We've been looked at as this small experimental project last year, and then now Frankencoin. If you read the headlines, and let me actually find that, and we can share that quickly on the screen. I think we can do that, right?
Yeah, you can use the share screen, and then I enable it.
Exactly. So basically, let me share the screen. Bear with me.
Good.
So the article which was published yesterday in Germany, it says, I'm not sure if you see it exactly. Die ersten Finanzprodukte auf den größten Franken stablecoin. So it is, not even a question anymore. It's just like, we're the biggest, or Frankencoin is the biggest Swiss franc stablecoin, full stop. And that's exactly where this needs to go, because it's infrastructure in the end. It doesn't matter if it's decentralized, centralized, if it's, what is it? It's important is it's stable, it's secure, and it's there. It works, right? It's liquid. And I believe that is one of the big topics we're also working with or working for this year, to just build out this stability, build out this what you need. What does Frankencoin is compared to? Frankencoin is compared to Tether and USDC, and everyone is like, yeah, but those guys, there's like $200 billion large, and you have 70 million in TVL. I mean, that's like it's a fraction. But that's where Frankencoin needs to get to. That's the goal. It's the stablecoin market is right now about $320 billion US, and we believe that the Frankencoin has its place in there, and we're working every day hard, to make that a reality, and to put the Frankencoin out there. Yeah, and obviously, as a last comment, and I think we'll get back to that in a second. We're once again in this perfect storm. The Swiss franc is in a perfect storm right now. With what is happening with the dollar, we've seen over the last 2 days. This is very new, right? If you look at the numbers, there's tremendous inflows coming in to CCHF as we speak. People are just realizing, hey, the dollar is not a good asset to hold, and the Swiss franc is, and Frankencoin is here, and Frankencoin is liquid.
Yeah, I agree. Frankencoin is on the map. And I often say that as someone who is not an American and not Swiss though as well, I do think that the Swiss franc is very unique, and a Swiss franc stablecoin is also very uniquely positioned, because unlike most national currencies and local currencies, the Swiss franc does have a global use case. Like, because of the store of value aspects and the attributes that it has, any investor around the world can find a lot of interest in owning Swiss francs, and it's so much easier to own versions of them on chain rather than going through traditional means. So, and I actually don't think that most national currencies can say that. Like, I do think that the era of on-chain effects is coming, but still, most of it is going to be because, like Brazilian needs the Brazilian real to use in Brazil, and other people need other tokens all around the world, but they usually need it locally. And with a specific asset like the Swiss franc, there is a global use case for a stablecoin that is not a dollar, is not a dollar stablecoin, which I actually think is very unique, and I'm very curious to see. I personally think that the Swiss franc on chain should be bigger than the euro on chain, because I don't understand why should people actually hold only when they pay. Eric, maybe you have some thoughts on it, and feel free to also, if you want to share a few words about yourself in the beginning.
Yeah.
We will get to all this kind of stuff when we start talking about the advisory board.
No, sure. Thank you. I am delighted to be on the association board. Luzius asked me. We know each other for a while. Back when I co-founded the crypto finance conference in St. Moritz, I was then also pretty active investor in cryptocurrencies before the stable coins were created. I am fascinated by stablecoin, and especially that we have a Franken stablecoin right now. And what you just said, I believe the Swiss franc is the strongest currency in the world. And this is a function of our country being an island in Europe. And not only that, I mean, we have, economically trade agreements with China since 10 years, for example, while the EU doesn't have any, and so on and so forth. So the strength of the Swiss economy is reflected in our currency, the Swiss franc. And therefore, even more so the case, as you said correctly, and I agree with you, a stable coin on the Swiss franc is a global story. I mean, I've been in banking for 30 years, and I've seen a lot. And I think the creation of stablecoin will change a lot, in the sense that you have access through a cryptocurrency with the basis of Swiss francs behind it. And I think the potential is enormous. And being on the association board, I will try to help as good as I can.
Thank you so much for being here, Eric. It's really a pleasure to work with you guys, with the whole board and the advisory board. It's I think there's no other way to put it. It's a pleasure. We've started not that long ago working together, and I believe we've already achieved quite a bit of things and moved quite a bit of things. So I'm really happy, and I believe it's a really, really cool boost also for the ecosystem. Just to have you guys in here, to have you guys kind of having my back as well as the guy who's running the day-to-day stuff, and sometimes being a bit in a vacuum, if you will. It's just good to have you. Thank you.
But Johannes, you are the perfect tutor. I'm saying tutor because I think many people, on average, say stablecoin, Franken stablecoin, what is that? How can I get involved? And I think there's an educational phase that needs to be done until, I mean, we're fully established, probably.
Takes some years, but I'm that's actually what excites me. And thanks for those kind words, Eric. It's probably the big thing which excites me here is we're building the future of the financial system. And then having someone like you, I'm not sure if everyone in here knows who Eric is and what he's done also, in
I'm a normal human being. I'm a normal human being, nothing else.
A normal human being who was running a bank for a long time. Let's put it this way, okay? But having someone like you from, the old financial system, obviously now kind of shaping and helping to create this new financial system. That is something which excites me and which I believe is just tremendous. So I'm in a very lucky position to have this great board, have the backing, and also have this great country, this great Swiss franc to build out. No,
but I try to do my best, but I mean if I go back only 15 years or 20 years, I mean, nobody, the Bitcoin, the cryptocurrency, they were not there. And many people, when it started after 2008, I mean,
exactly.
prominent people in Switzerland and abroad said, this is a hoax, it's going to go away, and so on and so forth. And luckily they're wrong. They were wrong.
It's funny. I think Luzius will know that there is a website with the Bitcoin obituaries where they collected every single news article of media and famous people saying that the Bitcoin will die.
Yes, and it was a missing piece of the puzzle for the internet. So there's old videos of Milton Friedman in the 90s saying, so the internet will bring digital money that you can easily transfer, programmable money, things like that. And it didn't happen for quite a while. And then came Bitcoin and now stable coins, which both as it's orthogonal and it's not a direct competition because Bitcoin is mostly used as store of wealth. And we have stable coins that are used more and more transactionally and that help to build the rails for the financial system of the future, where you can do a lot of things much faster. So one of the most significant use cases of Frankencoin is Aktionariat. So this is a platform that helps Swiss companies to tokenize their shares. And once you have share tokens, you can trade them against Frankencoin in atomic swaps. And this is something that doesn't exist in a traditional system. On a traditional stock market, you have a centralized depository that stores the securities, and you have a payment system that does the payment, and they need to be synchronized, and it can take days to do this synchronization. And during these days, you are exposed to risk. So they have this centralized counterparty that takes all the risk, all highly regulated. And all of this is obsolete once you have an atomic swap that on-chain swaps the currency and the security at the same time. You eliminate all the counterparty and the system risk. It's just you trade with someone and you either get what you want or you don't. And if you don't, you don't pay either. So it can make a lot of things much more efficient, but it will take many years for it to permeate through the financial system, especially because and this is part of the story where I want to also push a few things politically. So it's Europe overall has become a little sclerotic and slow when it comes to innovation. And
Luzius, just even in 2025, in a piece of CBS 60 Minutes, Jamie Dimon, CEO of JP Morgan, said Bitcoin has no intrinsic value and linked it to sex trafficking, money laundering, and ransomware. Can you imagine?
And now they're all on it.
Unbelievable.
Yes. This is also impressive to see how the big American banks, at least, they start to get more serious. They had already 10 years ago, they had blockchain projects, but they try to squeeze it into their corporate environments. Like this is also what STX, Swiss Digital Exchange did. This is a subsidiary of the Swiss Stock Exchange. And they had very good ideas, but these ideas, they somehow died in all these committees because they wanted to push it into the established system, and they didn't want to cannibalize the existing exchange. So it's now almost useless. Right? So this is, you see this everywhere. It takes someone that grows it from the bottom up if you want to have innovation. And this is what we try to do. So we launched the Frankencoin, we set it into motion, and can now observe how it spreads and if it is successful. And if you're lucky, we can contribute to improve the financial system. And this is something I cannot, I repeat this quite often when I have a podcast or so. So what is the purpose of the financial system? In the end, in a capitalist system, the financial sector is responsible for the resource allocation in the economy. So in a communist system, you have a centralized planning committee that does these 5-year plans and says, this company gets that much capital, this company gets that much capital, and so on. And in a free market economy, you have the financial sectors. This is banks, investments fund, private equity. So all kind of actors that allocate the capital of the society in the end by moving money around. And the more efficient the financial system is, the more efficient is the capital allocation of the society. So everyone who is interested in using our resources wisely should be interested in an innovative and strong financial system.
So yeah, I mean that's super exciting. I mean, but isn't it like how would you see Switzerland in this whole role? I mean, you mentioned the US a couple of times now, and there is just on a political level, there's so much happening in the US with the Clarity Act and the what's the other one called? The
Genius
Act, exactly. Yes. Switzerland is not that far, right? How do you see that?
So Switzerland has actually good laws, but these good laws, they get kind of bent by FINMA. So if the lawmakers give FINMA room of interpretation from 0 to 100, where 100 is the most restrictive and 50 is probably what the lawmakers intended, then FINMA chooses 120. And this is a pattern you see again and again, and it leads to a almost totalitarian micromanagement of all the risks. And this suffocates innovation, because innovation needs experiments, and experiments by the definition have a risk. And and this is not nice to see that this is happening. There's some push now to improve it a little. So there's the lawmakers, so the Federal Council proposed a law to enable stable coins in Switzerland and to basically override what FINMA did with the existing law. But this will take years to be set into force. So for a while, Frankencoin will be the only one on the map.
Which is in a sense interesting, that right, as in Switzerland, if you take a step back, building a stablecoin is not that easy, because the kind of the basic economic business model, which Tether or Circle or so have, is not working as well, because you have very low interest rates or even negative interest rates in the traditional world. Meaning, even building a centralized stablecoin is not that easy. And now you can't do that. But this puts Switzerland, this is a unique place where it's I would argue, the only country in the world where a decentralized stablecoin has a real chance of actually being successful. And here we are, right? Here is Frankencoin is showing that, and this is really. I'm quite cynical on stablecoins, to be very honest, right? You've mentioned DAdvisoor, you mentioned like local stablecoins or local currency stablecoins, and if you look at the two use cases of stablecoins, one being transactions and the other one being store of value. For transactions, especially for cross-border transactions, you want to think in one currency, and the dollar works quite well for that. However, store of value, that is not the case. But there's not many currencies that are actually a good store of value. And the Swiss franc, and I have this nice book here. People who've seen me speak live, I've seen that before. I carry that wherever I go. It's a book about the history of the Swiss franc. Since 250 years, it is the ultimate store of value, besides gold and maybe a bit Bitcoin. And that's why it has this real chance to be successful, to grow, to have, massive impact. I'm speaking tens and tens of billions, even if not hundreds, in the long run, right?
Yes, and this stability has an overlooked benefit that I want to mention. So normally you think about store of value, so I buy some Swiss francs and keep them. But this is actually, it's not the best investment. You should buy stocks. You shouldn't just keep the pure currency. You should be in some asset. Maybe you like gold, maybe you like Bitcoin. And I think stocks are traditionally one of the best choices. But the other benefit that stability brings is that when you write a contract, a long-term contract, be that rent, be that a long infrastructure project that takes 10 years to complete, inflation becomes a relevant factor. And by having a very stable currency, you can actually have more legal certainty about what you agreed on. You don't need to readjust. You don't need to do inflation adjustment calculation. You can just say it's going to cost 1 million Swiss francs per year, this project, for the next 10 years, and you don't need to adjust much. And this legal certainty is very valuable. And actually, the Swiss franc should be the preferred currency you put into a contract. When you have a long-term contract, you should internationally, you should do it in Swiss francs and not dollars or euros.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Personally, I have some connections to Chile, and in Chile, they actually have two currencies. They have the peso and they have the UF, the Unidad de Fomento, which is a inflation-adjusted currency, which is basically, thought to be used exactly for this long-term kind of contract. So any rental contract will not be in dollars or in pesos; it will be in UF. And I like this idea of that the Swiss franc could be this for the global settlement layer, the decentralized layer. That's a really cool thought there.
Yes, it also takes out some of the political motivation to destroy the value of your currency. So when the Americans fixed the price of oil in a treaty to $50 per barrel or whatever it is, and then devalue the dollar, they get the oil more cheaply. So they should have fixed the price in Swiss francs instead.
Exactly, but that's actually what came into my mind. That there's always the strong and the not as strong, and whoever this concept is actually a very cool concept, but it's a concept that works in a fair world, and in the real world, someone always tries to manipulate, so they don't really want this one currency. So it's also a very delicate game of forces. And Luzius, it also reminds me about another point that you've touched, that the end of the day, people do need to find the proper assets that they should be holding and allocating their funds to. And I actually think that something like Frankencoin, which is actually a CDP stablecoin, the way you've designed it, actually enables them to enjoy both worlds. Because if someone, for example, is very much into Ethereum or very much into Bitcoin, or we've just recently had the new gold collaterals added to the Frankencoin ecosystem. So basically they can allocate their funds into whatever asset they really are into. Or, by the way, BOSS shares tokenized by Actionariat, or whatever other stocks that we're going to have there. And then just enjoy whenever they need a cash position, or when they need to allocate some of their money, they can mint Frankencoins against it and really enjoy both like holding their asset that they actually want to hold long term, and also enjoy the benefits of a very strong currency when they actually need currency, because when they pay for stuff or whatever. So I actually think there's a very strong synergy in this kind of a model. Definitely.
Yes. So one thing, by the way, that is missing in Switzerland is that so there's this the poly market and all these gambling or betting sites. I think this is in Switzerland we are not able to access these sites. They are forbidden. But it's something that I think would have huge potential. I would love to bet on the outcome of Swiss elections, for example. And
I mean, the front end is blocked, right?
Yes, the front end is blocked, but still it makes it you cannot promote it, and it's and this is another area where a Swiss franc stablecoin could also be useful. If you are betting on Swiss events, then maybe you want to do so in Swiss francs.
You're really good at poking the bear, aren't you?
Yeah, well, it's so let's see if someone does something, but it's not something that we should push or.
Brings up good points. He brings up good points.
He does, right? He
does.
does.
And for me personally, I actually like the fact that Luzius so openly connects it to the political aspect of things, because especially if you ask like the devs, people don't really build in crypto and DeFi specifically for the money, like not the real builders. The real builders have either done already made a lot of money, or if they just wanted money, they could have get basically any job that they want, or create any kind of business that they want, and make a lot of money tomorrow if they want. It really is a very ideologically driven industry, much more than any other industry that I'm aware of. And it's like many call it, it's freedom tech. Like that's what people are really after, and what really draws a lot of the talent, incredible talent actually, into the space. People want to build like resilient rails. People want to have a better system, a stronger system with a lot more equal opportunities, with justice. And to me, it really all is connected. Like you can't really understand crypto, DeFi, and all these things unless you really take the ideological aspect into consideration. And me personally, I actually think it's a huge deal, and I really appreciate you touching on it. And by the way, I really enjoyed the direction that the conversation went to. Go ahead, Eric. What do you want to add?
No, I have another idea, and it's being discussed. The public sovereign wealth funds. They're not yet in stablecoin, but at scale. But they are actively studying them, and in a few cases, even getting indirect exposure via the money market instruments that are underpinning leading stablecoins. So. There has been a discussion in Switzerland also to have a sovereign fund in Switzerland, and that would take the pressure off the national bank. The national bank is, and there's a special division looking at cryptos and stablecoin, and creating a sovereign fund separately from it. I mean, it's a political question, as since we are talking about politics. It is a political decision, but this could be a possibility for the national bank running a sovereign fund if there's no conflict, and if they're allowed to go into stable coins. And I think other sovereign funds would follow. That's just an idea.
I mean, I honestly believe that this is a question of when and not if, right? It's once liquidity is there, it's because there's just so many very obvious advantages to that. From liquidity, from you have immediate settlement, and so on. And let's dream about. I think that's not going to be the next 10 years. one very close friend of mine is an options trader, and we had this chat about crypto, and at some point then he said, look, it took 30 years or not even longer for the first options market to get really liquid. DeFi is 5 years old. So, I'm here to dream. I think I'm the youngest in this room. So I will still be around when that happens. I hope you also will be around. But let's give it some time. But definitely, this is, yeah.
What I find very interesting is how efficient the market already is. So if you go to Morpho, you would expect a risk premium. So currently, the official interest rate in the dollar is 3.75%. If you go to Morpho and want to borrow dollars against Bitcoin as a collateral, you get it for 3.82%. So it's only a little bit above the official interest rate. And I'm sure you wouldn't get a better offer at the bank. At most banks, I think Swissquote at the moment charges 6.8% on Lombard loans. So DeFi is actually more efficient than TradFi in this regard. And this is, to me, a strong signal that this has a future. It of course, being efficient also makes it harder to find arbitrage opportunities and opportunities to gain something. But this is in the end the goal. And an efficient financial market leads to a better future for all through the mechanism I explained before.
We just got a pretty interesting comment on that. Rio Grande, yes, SNB stablecoin would be CBDC. I rather like a decentralized one like the CCHF. In a perfect world, those two things, like move in parallel, and both are be very liquid because they have different properties in a sense, right? A stablecoin in a sense can be more apolitical, while a central bank always is forced to be political. And even though it should not be, at least in Switzerland.
Mm-hmm.
So in an efficient market, they can perfectly coexist. And then so it's basically the CBDC is what in German is called Vollgeld. So it's direct central bank money like you have with cash. And then you can choose, you can say, let's switch to the Frankencoin. Maybe the Frankencoin is better integrated on other layer 2 chains, better integrated with something else, or maybe it has a higher interest. And this is probably in a very mature market. What will happen is that you have CBDC with a very low interest or no interest at all. And then you can choose your risk appetite. Maybe you get a stable coin with a 20% yield that is extremely high risk. Or you get the Frankencoin that has moderate risk and still gives a nice yield. So this is where things could be headed. And for the Frankencoin, it would be tremendously useful to have a central bank digital currency to anchor the value to. Because today we really depend on market makers and people who see these arbitrage opportunities between the long-term and short-term value. But once you have a currency, you can peg your own currency too through maybe a swap facility, whatever, like DAI does that with USDC. You gain a lot of liquidity and utility through that. So I would very welcome an SNB stablecoin in the Ethereum system.
Yeah, in the end, like stablecoins are infrastructure, right? It's about where is it available, what can you use it for, and the beauty is we're always talking. I think this is a concept which we also had a chat about, Eric. This Lego of money, right? The Lego of money idea, where you have finance is technology and you can just combine them and they're compatible with each other, and that's where really I believe the future lies. And that's exactly what you just said, Luzius, in a sense. You have multiple things, they're all interconnected. You don't have any friction in between. It just work together, and you can choose and pick whatever you like. It even goes to this big discussion of, will there be banks, right? And there's a lot of people who have very strong opinions on that. Actually, I want to hear your opinion here quickly, guys. The three of you. Eric, will there be banks in 20 years?
you know what Bill Gates it was Bill Gates who said banking is necessary, banks are not. And I think it's going in that direction. Banking as such, I mean, having a globalized financial system and payment system and so on is necessary, but with the entrance of AI everywhere, the banks as we are used to in the past will change dramatically. Will still be there, but I would say in a different function that they had so far.
What do you think, Luzius?
I think crypto will always be too hard for the average user because it's baked into the concept that you have self-custody. You have this seed phrase, you have non-custodial wallets, and this brings responsibility. And most end users, they don't want to have the responsibility. They want to be able to call a hotline if they lose the credit card. They want to have an intermediary who hands their holds, and that's okay. And I think that's why there will always be financial intermediaries. Probably there will also always be banks. It's just institutions that help the investors and the end users navigate the technical channel.
But there'll be robots.
There could be a robot, so there's already robo-advisors, and maybe there's the compliance departments will also be replaced by robots. Who knows?
Smarter robots than compliance. Oh.
I had this discussion really in the past with my former boss, and he's also an old banker, you could say, well, more hedge fund guy, but in the financial world for a long time. And he had this very strong opinion that the banks are going to be too slow and they're going to die. I am a lot more like with you here, Luzius. I believe there is a need for that. There's a need for advisory. There's a need for someone holding your hand. There's a need for someone holding your keys because you don't trust yourself. But what changes, it becomes optional. And, so I can choose, okay, I want to use a bank for certain things, but I'm not forced to. I can have, my money at home and I have exactly the same services, being investment, cross-border transactions, whatever it might be, without a bank. And that's my belief. Is this kind of banking is optional, and well, let's see. I mean, right now, Philip, who was my former boss, is right. The banks are too slow. Let's put it this way.
Yeah, Johannes. I mean, me being an old banker, probably. I am an old banker, but anyway, what you see in the last couple of years, the rise of the family offices. The family office in Switzerland alone is over 600 billion, and that's not counting all of them. And the family offices are institutional, have become the new institutional force. And why do the family offices were created? Because they were unhappy with the banks. They can do a better job by themselves, but they need to use the banks as a commodity to pass through the orders and to settle the trades and all that. So a bank, you see the rise of some banks that have been specialized in custodianship, like State Street, probably the largest in the world. They have a fantastic technology behind it, and that's what if I can make my own decisions on investments, but I need an execution platform.
I mean, there's this concept of the narrow bank, right? I think, Luzius, you've been doing some research about that, if I'm not mistaken, as well.
There's a very interesting piece by Professor Cochrane so it's in the United States. So he writes about this narrow bank that they wanted to create, which was very simply just a bank that does nothing else than store all the money with the central bank. And this was an initiative by pension funds who were bothered by storing their money with commercial banks, getting maybe 1% interest, and the commercial banks deposit their money with the central bank and get like 3% interest. So there was a considerable gap between what they received and what the bank earned with their money. So they said, let's build our own bank. And this was killed by bureaucracy. So they got the license, but they never got the bank account. This is normally formality, and they sued the state Federal Reserve that was responsible to give them a bank account. And in the end, they lost the lawsuit because the judge said it's not a refusal of not Rechtsverweigerung, not refusal of doing something, because they just didn't decide yet. They didn't give them something that they could appeal. There was no formal decision. They just did nothing for years and didn't give them the bank account. And this, I think in the end, they gave up or made a deal with some banks where they got a higher interest. And this shows to me that it's not only the law that matters in the end when you want to do something in practice. Sometimes when you do something that provokes the wrong people, then you are prevented by the government from doing lawful things. And this is worrying. So a similar case is Libra. Libra was a project that wanted to do everything by the letter of the law. They put enormous efforts into lawyers, but they were basically bullied into giving up because it was not politically desired that they are successful. And especially in Europe, the governments reacted quite allergically. They said, innovation, yes, mais Libra, no. This was the French finance minister. He said that they don't want to have money under control of Facebook. But this is nonsense. So this was a completely hysteric reaction, because we have private money with banks, with credit card companies everywhere. When you have that, it's not something so special. Also have a new means of payment. It's not so special. I'm not sure why they reacted so sensitively to that.
My personal opinion is because that's money that wasn't their direct control. You know what I mean? Like with the existing money, and they control it directly. They enjoy a monopoly on power. And all of a sudden they see a strong competitor that they can force out with their regulation. And yes, they do it. Why wouldn't they? Like, they're not like, if the world was only honest actors, I'd agree. But like yes, the fact is that the world is not only honest actors. So they killed it while they could.
And this is,
by the way, one second, let me finish your sentence.
So this is a sad insight. Often the greed for power explains government behavior better than just serving the citizens or adhering to the constitution. Now to you, Johannes.
I just wanted to add a quick thing in the middle. So we're getting some questions already, but guys, if you're watching, write your questions into YouTube or on X. Happy to address it. Eric and Luzius, myself as well. We're here to address those questions. Whatever you might want to know about Frankencoin, whatever suggestion you might want to have. Let's open it up and let's get you guys involved a bit more. That's just a comment I wanted to add.
Before we go into the question, if you have a few minutes, because I want to touch on one topic that I was sure that we will touch even before, but the conversation was just too interesting for me to interrupt it, and it actually went much, I really enjoyed it, so I didn't want to move there already. I actually want to hear some of your thoughts about the new advisory board and what was the logic and idea behind establishing it, and what kind of benefits does it bring? So maybe Luzius, if you can start, like you and Johannes, first of all, like give us some of the context on what made you even want an advisory board, and then maybe we can go to Eric, because I'm very curious as to, okay, Eric, what made you really, like, as someone who comes from traditional finance and the banking world, you have so much insight on that side of things. I'm very curious as to what made you decide that, okay, I actually wanted to take a part on that other side of the financial world after so many years. And of course, what made you actually think that, gladly for all of us, by the way, that Frankencoin is the right arena for you to do?
Yes. Okay, so I'll start why an advisory board at all. So I myself, I love to do something on my own, just be at home at my computer, maybe implement something, research something. But this is not the best way of doing things, especially if you want to be innovative. You need exchange. You need to have people around you with great ideas, with great mind, with great experience. And this is what we aim to do. We want to, and we consciously set up an advisory board that is very diverse in backgrounds. So we have someone who did successful crypto investments. Here we have Eric Sansin from banking. We have someone from the finance podcast. We have a very diverse background to open the funnel of new insights and ideas to help to shape us the vision, to see in what direction we should develop the system. And it's also very exciting to work with different with great personalities, with good insights, and where you can discuss new ideas. So I think it's a valuable pool of ideas and window for insights for us.
Yeah, I mean, I can maybe give also the more operational perspective on that, right? For me, and I've mentioned that before. It's quite interactive, right? As you very rightly said, so there's a very diverse team or very diverse advisory board, and everyone is bringing something to the table. And for me, this is extremely helpful, right? If I want to understand something about how banking world works, we are in Switzerland, so we sooner or later are going to get closer to TradFi, the traditional system as well, just because people want to use Frankencoin. I mean, we've seen the ETP that's been launched yesterday, and obviously Eric is a wealth of information here. He's seen many things. He's seen, what is behind many things, what is behind decisions, how do bankers think. But then, going further on, we have someone like Philip, as you mentioned, Philip Hopf, who's a tremendous finfluencer, as you would call him. How does the public think? What are the needs for information for the wide public? We're in a pretty small niche. We're very technical ourselves, so sometimes we tend to go a bit too deep for let's say 99.9% of the population, and he can shape that. Or then we have someone like René, who's been a C-level on the IT and many large banks on the director side as well, who just help us tremendously in risk management. Like, what are things which need to be looked at? What are processes that need to go in place so that Frankencoin can scale safely and securely and not fall apart? So every member of the board has this unique view, and it's just a tremendous value add. It's just like a sounding board as well. A sounding board, if there's some crazy ideas Luzius or me or Jan or anyone from the team comes up with, we have 5 guys who have 5 different perspectives, and that just helps and makes it better in the end.
So I had time to think about the answer. No, if I go back to the mid 80s and then on throughout the 90s and the 2000s, I mean, many innovations came into the financial system. I remember the options and futures exchange in Switzerland was started. Many people very skeptical. Hedge funds, many people said they're crooks, they're Wall Street crooks, and so on. Private equity venture was not an asset class till the late 90s, early 2000s. Now now everybody wants that asset class. And coming to crypto and stablecoin again, it's a new experience. It's a new instrument. Very interested because it's not under any of the central banks and so on. And my motivation, and when Luzius asked me, I didn't have much idea about what stablecoins are about, and Johannes tutored me, so that's very good. But I think it's important, and for me, it's important to stay curious about the developments, what's going on, and how it's gonna shape up in the future, and for the next generations. So I think one should stay curious and not close their eyes to new ideas and new innovative products or instruments in the financial system.
I really appreciate that perspective, Eric, and I really think that each of the advisory, like having such a diverse advisory board now for the Frankencoin Association is, in my opinion, really like a key feature. I really think that each of the members can bring like his own perspective to the table and really affect the project in very useful ways, and I'm actually very much looking forward to see where it goes, and I definitely hope to talk to each of the advisory board members and bring their perspective to the community. I think the community will find huge interest in their thoughts and interests and perspectives and the way they see things and what made them really want to participate in this new financial system that's being built by Frankencoin. Sirs, before we wrap up and go to some questions, anything else that you want to add, maybe that we haven't touched on, something important? And again, I will use this opportunity to really thank you for your time and joining. I think this has huge value for the community. It creates a very prolific discussion. It really like arouses the mind in a way to really like dive in and to see what gentlemen like yourselves actually see as opportunities within the space and goals within the space, and frankly the vision of Frankencoin and like what it actually is here to do. And I definitely enjoyed it a lot, and I hope the audience enjoyed it as well. So anything else that you want to add before we get to some questions and wrap it up?
I think, you know, we've heard many things. If I could add one thing, it's like, hey, let's keep building as we are, and you know, back to the community. Also, it's really cool to have such a active and you know, know when moon type of community. So thanks back to you, and also, you know, see with the questions coming in, there's very diverse questions. People wanting to build stuff. People, you know, it's cool. Like I just want to continue how we're going, and I believe if trust the process, it's going to be great.
I agree. Let's get into two of these questions here. One of them is about a new type of collateral. What do you think of the newly introduced gem project, which tokenizes gemstones? Possible new collateral. Let's start with you, maybe Luzius. What makes you like more keen on adding one collateral rather than the other, and like how useful do you see like this narrative going forward?
So one strength of the Frankencoin system is that it's quite versatile. You can add a collateral without having an established oracle. That said, it still should be a very sound collateral. It should be a collateral that either is very liquid or that has a sound long-term value. And what, for example, we should avoid is a collateral where there could be a sudden drop in value. Maybe 90% of the time it's good, and 10% of the time it drops to zero. So for the liquidation mechanism, it's better to have assets that, if they decline slowly and steadily, like a Swiss company that either grows slowly and steadily or declines slowly and steadily, not something that collapses immediately.
I was going to say like the dollar. But...
the dollar declines steadily. It's not, I mean, 2% or so is a big movement for a currency, but it's not a big movement in the stock market. So, and at the GEM project, I looked up the website before. I hope I got the right one. It looks not so large, but of course, if there's a good way to add gems as collateral, and if there is demand, so anyone in the community can propose that and make a proposal that say, this is the token, we would love to add this as collateral. And if no one vetoes it, then it will pass and it will be possible to use it.
Mm-hmm. Maybe I can use gold as a comparison here. So we've recently added gold as a collateral to Frankencoin, and with gold, no one will argue that it's not a good store of value. However, what you have, if you add a token, you actually add the risk of the token issuer, right? And that is also the reason why we added both the Tether Gold, USDT, sorry, not USDT, XYUT, as well as Paxos Gold, to have this diversification. They're both gold, but they're two different issuers. So when you think about gems, the gems themselves, they might be very, very good collateral, as a store of value. However, what needs to be looked at is how stable is also the issuer. What percentage, for example, of the total value locked can be used as collateral, and so on. So I think that is it's. I think it might be an interesting collateral. However, what would need to be looked at by the community. This is where exactly this process with the discussions in the forum and in the public space come in. Which, by the way, with gold is one of the feedbacks which we got is, okay, oh fuck, like you're running risk with Paxos, you're running risk of a centralized company which has the freeze function, for example. That was a concern which was raised by the community.
But in the end, it went through.
It went through, exactly. It went through, but we did add two different ones, which somewhat mitigates that risk. As you have different types of gold. And as you say, we have different types of Bitcoin. We have wrapped Bitcoin, we have CBBTC. We have different types of staked ETH. We have, the alluvial LS ETH, and we have the Lido WST ETH, which are kind of the same thing, but different issuers and different providers, which with their ups and downs. So definitely an interesting discussion to be had. I'm personally looking forward to hear what the community thinks about it. We're just a part of the community, really. We have one opinion, but there's many other opinions which are exactly as valid as ours.
I would highly
interesting.
People that are interested to feel free and open forum discussions on the GitHub. I think that's what the forum is for, and we want to get it more and more engaging and having a lot of the discussion there, a very prolific one. So if you really think that you have a new collateral that you want and you have a good case that you think that you can actually convince the voters that should be gone, and that no one with a veto power vetoes it, definitely go for it. I think that's the organic, natural way that Frankencoin should grow, and I'm very excited to see what people come up with. Thank you for the question, Crypto Wealth. Next question is about on and off ramps for Mount Pelerin. On and off ramp for Mount Pelerin is fees free. What is the idea behind it? Sponsoring, and until when will it be like that?
So this is supported by the Frankencoin Association. The Frankencoin Association has more than 1,000 Frankencoin pool shares that can be used to support the community. It also is used to fund its own operations. So, and in this case, we decided that we support Mount Pelerin in their exchange on and off ramping of Frankencoin, and they do it very cost efficiently. So we had a short experience also with off ramper or on ramper, which had enormous slippage and didn't work reliably, but Mount Pelerin does a really good job. So as a Swiss citizen, this is probably the easiest way to buy or sell Frankencoin. And we appreciate that, and that's why we are supporting it, and we'll continue to support it.
And I mean, what comes on top of that is it's somewhat, you need to get the flywheel going. If you have a lot of liquidity in the system, the spreads tend to become smaller, and fees go down. So this is, see it as also support an investment by the association in getting the flywheel going, getting it up and running. Because, if you have hundreds and hundreds of millions of volumes, no one is going to haggle with fees anymore. It's just, you have to have it. You have to have it, and you have to have it as a competitive rate. And so we're more than happy to with the job as well. And here once again, to Jan and Arno and the team at Montpellier, and I big shout out to you guys, because you just turnaround is very quick. They solved so many issues, very, very quickly. There was one example, someone came and said, "Hey, can we have it on?" I think it was on Arbitrum. Can we have it live on Arbitrum, because we're building this thing? And then within 2 days, they onboarded the Frankencoin on Arbitrum to be used on Montpellier. So this is very, very positive experience we're having with them. Just super, super grateful for their support as well.
Definitely, and hope to have them on like a live stream with them as well. We should definitely set one up, hopefully next month. And thank you very much, El Rio Grande, for this question. And I will also just pop up this comment by him. Looking forward to hearing each of the advisors' team. Strongly agree. I look forward to it as well. And thank you, Eric, for being with us today. For the first time. One final question. Sorry?
I excuse my colleagues.
I think
they're all very busy people.
Good point.
I think it's good to have a rotation and not a full dose of everyone at the same time.
Maybe, yeah.
I mean, we should do like a marathon, like a 6 hours stream with everyone. Online workshop. I actually think we will get a lot more than you think. Sorry, go ahead.
Each of you is fantastic. Each of you deserves like an hour just by yourself, because it's such interesting personalities and such interesting people. So
we can go on and on. Right. Like I wouldn't, like, if I didn't know that you guys just have a lot of stuff to do and obligations, I would have kept you guys going as much as possible. But let's leave something for the next times, as they say. And one last question to wrap it up. Maybe even you will want to address this first, Johannes, but feel free,
I'll take that one.
Of the others to take it. By Jupitella Man. Thank you for the question, sir. Hi, guys. When's ZCHF Visa card? And they can't see. If you really want to see the emoji that he used, you should go to the YouTube comment section, because Restream doesn't even know how to pop this kind of emoji up. So
I want to put something on the screen now. How can I put that there?
I don't know. We should upload
the Soon TM. The Soon TM. Can you put that there for me, please?
I don't think we have it in this version.
Can you create it? I know how to do that. I do it soon. One second. So I'll do it very quickly.
Do it. Go ahead. Definitely. I definitely want a credit card that I can use as ZCHF as well. So please make it eligible here as well.
Is it showing now?
Yeah, sure.
Yes, there you go. Soon. Okay, so having a native Swiss franc CCHF card is unfortunately something which is quite challenging, not because of our side or technically. It's something because it needs to go through the kind of old world TradFi side of things. And this is a mess. This is something which has been in the works for a long, long time. We're, as you might know, we have a very good relationship with Gnosis Pay as well. And they've been struggling to do that, to do multi-currency card for well over a year. It's old rails, which are slow, which are cumbersome, where there's many people involved. And, but yeah, I mean, soon I would want to use it. And just looking at the numbers of people using even the Euro card, the Gnosis Pay Euro card, this is huge. There's so many people using that, and even so they're happy. But obviously, it would be a lot more efficient to have it in Swiss francs natively. It's like it's ridiculous. It's, you have to do this very cumbersome thing, and even with the cumbersome, convoluted process, it's better than using the old kind of banking system. But now imagine if you would just go directly, Frankencoin, Swiss franc card. But hey, there is a bunch of very interesting talks in the back. Actually, one of our advisory board members is also involved in card payments quite a bit. Well, actually, two of them. One on the retail side and one on the investment side. So there's a lot of things happening there. But even this project, which was one of the largest card process, I just had a chat with them the other day. They first saw, beginning of the year, they will have multi-currency card. Now it's been pushed back, but now they're kind of building something around that where they just subsidize it. So you have the same experience while actually having you don't get any fees, but you still have this international cards. So yeah, soon.
Incredible.
Not much more I can say.
Hopefully it's a marathon. It's a marathon, but I do think that the progress is quite remarkable, especially for this kind of project. I personally am really thankful and grateful to you guys for being able to take part. It definitely adds a lot of interest to my life and work. And I actually share Johannes's thought there from earlier that he shared earlier about it's a lot of fun being a part, building something, actually doing something that really affects people worldwide, giving them just better opportunities, all of us, giving ourselves. So much respect to all of you involved. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. I really enjoyed it. I think it was very useful. I think the community, the listeners learned a lot. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Please like the video on YouTube, on X, leave some comments, ask some questions, share any kind of feedback. Let us know what you want us to talk about next in future shows. And of course, join the Telegram community, join the discussion. And if you have some really valid ideas, go to the forum on the GitHub and really try to push them forward. And gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it, really enjoyed it, and see you next time, hopefully very soon.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Have a good evening.
Bye, everyone.